You're listening to the Wealthy Future Lawyer Squad podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Klein. I've created a signature coaching program for law students to show you how to build confidence, design your dream life, create wealth, and thrive in law school and beyond. I am here to show you how to work on both your money and your mind so you too can become a wealthy future lawyer. Let's get started, squad. Welcome back to the Wealthy Future Lawyer Squad podcast. I am so excited to be sitting here with my good friend and business colleague, Kelly Tolliday. I'm really excited for this episode because I think we're going to be talking a lot about burnout, and I think this is a topic that is important for honestly any human being, but especially for those who are going through the very trying experience of law school. So before we dive in, I want to give a quick bio and intro to my friend Kelly. Kelly is a yoga and meditation teacher, a retreat facilitator, and a podcast host. I've been on her podcast. It's incredible. If you love travel, definitely check it out. And at the end, we'll give all the details so everyone can find you and follow you. Kelly is passionate, purpose-driven, and committed to serving her community. Kelly has lived in 4 different countries. Wait, what are the 4 countries?
Costa Rica, Switzerland, Australia, and Thailand. Thailand.
Okay. Well, I want to move to Thailand one day, so definitely have to pick your brain about that. And now she's back in her hometown in Florida. She's married to her husband, Sam, who is a business owner in the construction industry and a mom to 2 beautiful girls and 2 dogs. And our older children go to school together, which is really nice. So we've met this year, and then we've connected on so many levels. Yeah. It's like the universe is like, you guys need to know each other. Right. After 7 years of running retreats and events, she has hosted 20 plus retreats. Wow. Domestically and internationally, with hundreds of people attending worldwide. And your next one's in Thailand, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in Thailand.
So we're going to Phuket and Koh Samui for the retreat, and then we're tacking on a couple extra weeks. But yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
She offers a decade of experience in event management with a wellness focus, logistics and operations, itinerary planning, customer service, marketing and communication, and most importantly, holding space for clients to improve their well-being and their quality of life, which is one of the reasons, I really wanted to have you on this podcast. One of my missions in this podcast and my coaching program, in everything I'm doing to build this business and my law firm and my own life, is about wellness and about learning how to take a step back from the day-to-day and saying, what am I doing that's working? What am I doing that's not working? And just knowing that you can do that. I didn't know that until 2017, 2018, that I was able to kind of look at my life and stop the things I didn't like and build on the things that I did. That I didn't know that was available.
You had a choice.
I had a choice. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. And the second I realized that, like, it all changed and the genie's out of the bottle. It can never be put back in.
Totally.
And so that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on, because I love your energy. I love your aura. I love the way that you approach life and business and motherhood. And I think that this conversation is going to be very helpful for those, especially right now, law students, as we're filming and recording right now, are either finishing up finals or have just finished finals period.
Right.
Which, looking back to like my first year of law school, it's crazy. It compared to university or college. In law school, most classes, especially the first year, you only have one exam. So you go to class the whole year, and then it builds up to this one exam, and this one exam determines your grade for that class, which, as you can imagine, is
just a little stressful.
Just a little bit.
Just a tad.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think talking about burnout right now, how to recognize it and ways to overcome it or mitigate it, I think is going to be really helpful for my audience. So I wanted to give you a chance to just introduce yourself a little bit more. I mean, that was a great background, but tell us about yourself and your all the things.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So I started out just wanting to explore yoga a little bit more. I'd been practicing since I was 15. Really, it was a form of physical therapy for me. I had been trying to figure out what was going on with my shoulder for a really long time because I was a competitive swimmer, and my coach had recommended trying this thing called yoga that had just kind of infiltrated the West, and Bikram yoga was a studio nearby. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I loved it. And I fell in love with it. And I continued to practice as I went through college, as I continued my postgraduate experience, as I got jobs in the marketing and communications realm, as I traveled, like all the things. Yoga kind of continued to be a presence in my life, and it was a way for me to come back to my neutral point, for me to come back to my wellness baseline every single time I practiced. And it got me a little bit closer every single time to who I was, my true authentic self. And within my career at the same time, I was kind of going through these two paths, right? I was going down my yogic path and getting deeper with my practices, going to train with my teachers, taking my YTT, doing multiple yoga teacher trainings. That's what YTT means. And then at the same time, I was this executive in multiple global agencies running 10 plus brands at a time. I worked for Kimberly Clark. I worked for Dove, Bayer. I worked for Little Tykes. Like I had all these
Oh, wow. I
clients.
didn't know that.
Hmm. And I
Wow.
worked my way up from I was living in Australia at the time that this was happening, and
Mm.
the kind of like base, the intro level is called an account executive. So I worked my way up from an account executive to coordinator to manager to director, so that when I moved back here to the US with my husband, I was working as a digital marketing director for one of the nation's largest marketing firms for moms. We were specific to marketing for moms.
Mm.
We worked with brands that marketed to moms. And so at the same time that all of this was happening, I had like yoga Kelly and I had marketing Kelly. And it was so funny because even in high school, after I visited Costa Rica for the first time, I told everyone I could either be happy living in a shack teaching yoga on the beach in Costa Rica, or I could be the CMO of a large corporation. And that was really like the two personality splits that I had from all of my 20s. And it really wasn't until I got closer to my 30s that I started realizing that I didn't have time or energy to be both.
Yeah.
And I had my first child during COVID. There was a lot of reevaluating that was going on collectively in the world. But for
Yeah.
me personally, I really had to decide, like, what are my values? How much time can I give to both identities, to both egos, I guess you could say. And the one that just kept on fueling my passion and my fire, and what gave me the most energy, although it was a lot of work, I was getting in return, was being able to run experiences and wellness experiences around the world. So I had been running retreats since 2017.
Mm.
I did weekly classes as a yoga teacher. I was really moving into the coaching space. And so eventually I had to make the decision to leave my marketing job after 10 years of working in marketing, take those skills that I learned, which were very transferable, to then running my own business full time. And along the way, I had my coaching business around yoga and a lot of women's wellness and that. And then I also was being able to really build up this retreat business called Rising Nature Retreats that I have with a business partner. And now that's basically what I do full time, is running. We do retreats around the world. We do local wellness events here in South Florida. We work with corporate partners, and that's really what I'm doing now full time.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
that's actually how we really initially met. I think we had seen each other around our kids' school,
Mm-hmm.
but the first time I met you was, I think, the first week I started my law firm.
Right.
And I was at Dr. Ashley's office.
Yes.
She's like, "You want to go to mom group?" I'm like, "Sure." And you were there, and you just like blew me away with the way that you were presenting the questions and the topics. I was like, damn, she knows what she's doing. Like, it was really good. Like, it was really, really good. And I
Thank
needed it. And
you.
just like the breathing exercise, because I know I should be doing breathing exercises. And sometimes I'm really good, but I needed it that day. And I was just like, oh,
And it's so simple, right? And
it's
we'll definitely
so
talk about
simple.
techniques later in the
Yes.
conversation, but it's
Yes.
it's oftentimes the simplest of things, and those are the things that are the first to go
Yep.
when we start
Yep.
getting
And they're
overwhelmed.
free, and they
Yep.
take like a minute
Mhm.
or longer if you
Yeah.
want. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But really, that point of when I got to that decision of whether I need to double down, like just nix my business altogether and stay with the safe job and, stay with that career path that I've been working for my whole life. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
just something that I was good at. I also loved it. I loved working with clients in the marketing capacity, creating strategies, doing all those things. But it got to the point where I landed myself in the hospital, and I had flu-like symptoms. I was vomiting. I couldn't keep
Wow.
anything down. And I went to the ER and I was like, something is terribly wrong with me. Like, they did a CAT scan, they did everything. And they're like, there's literally nothing showing.
Oh my
There's no
gosh.
markers in your blood for infection. There's nothing with your CAT scan. There's nothing. And they turn around and they're like, you are just very, very stressed. Like,
Wow.
you are.
So they said that to you in the
Well,
hospital.
the doctors didn't say that. One of the
Yeah.
nurses, I was kind of giving my life story as I do to
Yeah.
everyone, and she was like, it sounds like you have too much on your plate right now. And as she
Wow.
was saying that, I was laying in the hospital bed, and I got an email from a real estate agent who I'd been working with about opening up a yoga studio.
Oh
And
my
she was like, they
God.
need an
I
answer
just got
today.
chills. I just got chills.
She literally said they have another person in who just put in an offer. They need an answer today.
Wow.
And I was like, that answer is not coming today. And that answer was, you are doing too much. And so that was my real
Yeah.
my first foray into really realizing what burnout was, what it felt like in my body and in my nervous system. And that is something that I go back as an anchor memory, not a pleasant memory, but I go
Yeah.
back to that when I start feeling myself getting that tendency of do, more. I go back to that anchor memory of that was really a turning point for me having to take a step. It ended up being a step into my purpose and my passion.
Yeah.
But even now, I'm coming to a point in my life where I'm working in my passion. I'm creating purpose. I'm creating impact. But it's coupled with having 2 children and running a
Yeah.
household, and it's getting back to that same point. But I can recognize that I'm reaching that burnout point faster than I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so today's conversation will kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that was 2 years ago when that first event happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so where were you in? So you had one
Yes.
baby at that point,
One baby,
and were
yeah.
you still in corporate as
Mhm.
well?
Yep.
So you were still in corporate, and you were running. When did you start Rising Natures
So I started
retreats?
my yoga LLC, like for me, back in 2016 or 17. And then
Okay.
Rising Nature Retreats was born at that same time in like October 2021. But that was
Wow.
because I let go. Within 2 weeks, I let go of the marketing job. And then I was able to step fully into Rising Nature Retreats and putting all my energy towards that, or the energy that
Wow.
was available to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now in present time, as you're feeling there's a lot going on, 2 kids, running a business,
Mm-hmm.
life, friends, husband, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that are you're kind of noticing, or what can other people look out for before it gets to the point where you
Exactly.
wind up in the ER?
Right. Because eventually the goal is that we don't wind ourselves up in the ER.
Yeah.
We don't have those rock bottom moments. And sometimes it takes us a couple times of feeling those things to be like, I don't ever want to feel that again. And
Yeah.
some people like myself need that. The universe,
Yeah.
the whatever you want to call it, the collective, whatever you want to call it, they throw little like feathers at you to get your attention. And then they start throwing little pebbles. And then those pebbles
Mhm.
turn into boulders, and those boulders will take you down. And that's
Yeah.
that's basically what happened to me. It was like, you have not been listening to yourself, that you are exhausted, that you have to drink 3 cups of coffee during the day, that you're falling asleep at 3 p.m. and then staying up till midnight to finish the work that you did because you were so inefficient at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
that, we're going to just shut your body down, and you have to listen now, and you
Yeah.
have to pay attention, and you have to make changes. Some of us, we might get there, and that's what we have. Others are listening to this podcast right now and might start feeling that there's a little voice inside of you telling you that you need to slow down. But if we're not accustomed to listening to that inner voice or intuition or whatever you want to call that, we all have that voice. We need to flex that muscle and really build the practices in so that we can quiet ourselves down enough to start listening.
Yeah.
That's more from like a mental, emotional aspect. From a physical aspect, for me personally, what I know is that I feel when I get to this point of I'm doing too much, or I'm about to burn out, or I want to burn everything to the ground and start over again, or just run away and go to Costa Rica, which is what I did 2 weeks ago, is for me is I feel urgency in everything. Urgency in getting the groceries done, urgency in getting the laundry done, urgency in getting back to that email. Somebody texts me, I have to text them back right away, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget to do it, and everything's going to crumble if I don't do it right now. That sense of urgency that if you don't do X, then Y is going to happen. And
Yeah.
oftentimes that Y is some big catastrophic event that is actually not going to happen, but that's what we believe is going to happen. And that sense of urgency in our body creates tension. You might feel your jaw locking up all the time. You might feel you have short and sharp breath, like you just can't
Mm.
take a full breath.
Yeah.
You might
That's what happens to me. I start to not have that full breath. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, hold
For
on.
some people, you can't feel the lower half of your body.
Oh my
You
gosh.
feel like you're just a head on a stick running around and you do not know what it feels like to inhabit the
Mm,
lower half of your body.
mm,
So a lot of the practices that I do are literally walking us through how to bring our energy from up in our mind down into our legs, our hips, our pelvis, our feet, like the
mm.
basics, right? Bringing ourselves back into our body. Oftentimes when you're reaching the point of burnout, you can feel just this sense of like heart palpitations all the time, like kind of like you drank too much coffee, but it's all the time. You
Yeah.
can't switch off your brain, or perhaps you're exhausted at 3 p.m., but then at 9 o'clock you're wired. Like those are just markers of showing you that there is something off in your system and you've been working it that way for a long time. And that chronic, like if you think about a straight line, if you deviate 1% off that straight line day by day, you're not going to notice that shift. But over the course of a year, over the course of 2 years, you're on a completely different track.
Yeah.
And that wreaks havoc on your physical body, your mental, emotional body, your connection to your spirit, your soul, again, whatever you want to call that. We all have access to that. But those are the signs and symptoms for some people, not everyone, but for some people, those are some signs and symptoms that you might be starting to reach a point of burnout and you're trying to control it to not get there, right? Or sometimes it's like you have to say yes to everything. You have to be everywhere for everyone because you are so out of control in yourself. You want to make sure that you're putting on some sort of face that you have it all under control or that you can take on that extra project. And so those are some of the signs, again, that things are a little off balance, that you are
Yeah.
not present in your body. You're 10 steps ahead, worrying about the future. You're 10 steps behind, rehashing what happened in the past. You don't feel currently safe to be where you are and feel that you're enough where you are.
And I'm just thinking as you're talking, as I'm thinking about past episodes where I've talked about, there was one episode in particular where I was talking about how when there's been studies recently, like Bloomberg did a study
Mm,
where most law students are starting out on the same mental health playing field as the general population. Of course, there's going to be people who are coming in who've already struggled,
right.
whatever it may be. But in general, people start off on the same level. And within weeks of starting law school, weeks, not even months, their mental health takes a significant decline.
Wow.
And law school is the worst mental health out of any graduate programs, including medical school. And I think I'm really kind of just like thinking out loud as we're talking about this. There must be something within the way that law schools approach students and the curriculum and the culture and the environment that almost like fast tracks a lot of this, because I
Mm-hmm.
think there is a lot of manufactured stress within the law school curriculum. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pressure, like talking about law school exams earlier, how you, for a lot of classes, you only have one grade at the end of the semester. It's a lot of pressure, especially for those who maybe are very intelligent or a regular level intelligence, but they're not a good test taker,
Right.
you
Exactly.
know? So what are some of the things that that people can do, and especially these law students who are thrown into this environment, and we
Mm-hmm.
know we know we know that most people are going to suffer, and
Mm-hmm.
I wish we can improve that, and my hope is that this podcast is even a small part of making an improvement. But what can people do if the law schools aren't going to make this better for them?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, one, so I am trained formally in yoga and meditation. I've got almost 1,000 hours worth of training. I worked in
Wow.
women's wellness yoga therapy. And also, I am not a licensed mental health counselor. So I am a
Yes.
big, big proponent of knowing where your scope of work is and where your expertise is and where you can and cannot help someone. There is so much that we can do with breath work, with body awareness, with mindset work. And at the same time, I'm a huge proponent that if you don't already have a licensed mental health counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, someone in your
Yes.
corner, Like, they are going to help you so much be able to untangle a lot of what you're already bringing into that experience of law school. Like you said, everyone has this baseline, but some of us are helped or hindered in certain ways based on their,
Yeah,
childhood or resources or whatever. So number
sure.
one would be, if you haven't found professional support in some capacity, whether that's a counselor or some sort of coach in some way, that would be a huge step. What I would say is, if you're listening and you don't want to go down that route right away, or you don't have the resources to be able to do it, I would say journaling is a really great way to kind of realize what's going on in your system in real time. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed, take out a journal and just like brain dump everything that's happening. And also, in that moment when you're feeling that stress, whether it's typing it out in your phone or you have a journal, or maybe you just make a mental note if you're out somewhere and can't take this as a practice, is notice your biological markers for stress, right? Notice how your heart rate feels when you're feeling this overwhelm. Notice what happens to your breath. Are you able to take a deep breath, or are you breathing really short and sharp, these shallow breaths? Notice where in your body you're holding your tension. For me, it's my jaw and my neck. Like, without fail, I know as soon as I start clenching my jaw, I need to start doing my practices, because I'm getting to the point where I'm going to reach that breaking point.
Yeah.
Notice where you hold tension in your body. Notice the loops of behavior or patterns or things that you say. For me, my default emotion when I get stressed is anger. So I know that when I start snapping and saying some really snarky stuff to my husband, or maybe it's not being as kind as I could to my kids, I know that I'm reaching my overwhelm point. I know that I'm reaching my breaking point. I know this about myself because I've spent the last 15 plus years practicing yoga and doing my self study. That's a huge part of yoga. But in the last 5 years or so, and motherhood is a huge accelerator for really getting to see yourself mirrored in your children.
Yes.
But for me, like in the last few years in particular, just really getting to know myself on an intimate level. And if you're able to do this while you're in law school and while you're going through this pressure cooker of stress and comparison and all of the roller coaster of emotions that come with law school, if you could take this time as like an experiment to get to know yourself and your reactions to stress, it is going to help you so much. And getting to know those signs and symptoms when you are in very real, very stressful situations in your job after law school. So not to judge yourself, not to be like, why do I always say this when I'm stressed? Like, you could be like, wow, I noticed that I always say this
Hmm.
statement, or I always feel this way when I'm stressed, because then you can use that as a sign to be like, wait, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. Wait, oh my God, my jaw's tense. I need to do XYZ. And
Yeah.
so it helps you get to that stage of knowing yourself more. So then you can do the practices that are going to help you. So that's number one, was get professional support. Number two, journal it out. Really notice what's happening to you when you're feeling stressful from a physical point of view, what's happening to your mind when you feel stressed, when you feel like you're reaching a point of, I can't do this anymore, I'm overwhelmed, I'm just going to quit law school or quit my job, or all the things. Like, just noticing what's happening in your body and in your mind when that happens. That's a huge part of it. Um, the third thing, uh, we'll talk about techniques maybe a little bit later with breath, because that's something that's really practical. But the third thing would be, like, for me, burnout equals overcommitment. Like, tried and true, you've overcommitted yourself in perhaps all areas of your life. You've overcommitted yourself in work, and then you're feeling like you're undercommitting yourself to your family. Like, in some way, in some capacity, burnout is you've overscheduled, overbooked. Booked and busy is not a motto we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Booked and busy is like the antithesis of everything I want in my
Yeah.
life. I don't want to be booked and busy. I want to be like really underscheduled and very calm.
I love it.
So,
And I think for law students might be thinking, I don't have a choice. Like the law school is going to throw all this stuff at me. Maybe it's taking a step back in some friendships and telling those friends, I
mhm,
love you to death. This has nothing to do with you. I need to take a little bit of a pause in the communication and the hanging out just to
mhm,
focus on, even if it's just semester one or year one,
yeah,
and having that conversation ahead of time so you're not feeling guilt
totally.
and whatever it may be, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
proactively reducing other areas, if that's how you want to approach law school,
100%.
could make a
So
lot of
that's
sense.
so that's that's really it, right? So let's say I'm coming from the lens of, let's say, motherhood, right? There are parts of my business and my social life that I could easily reduce. There are parts of motherhood that I cannot
Yeah.
because they are a permanent part of my life. So same thing with law students. You cannot not study. You cannot not go to class. You cannot not take this exam. Those are non-negotiables in your life because you've chosen this path. There are other parts of your life that during this season of your life, you can look at and just see how can I simplify this? Can I mute this group chat that every time I look at it, there's 65 messages and I get anxiety because I'm
Yeah.
missing out? Can I say I'm only going to go to one whatever student union networking event a month instead of everyone that's every day? I'm only going to go out once a week, or I'm going to, perhaps the simplifying is in the things that you're doing. I'm going to simplify going out and drinking. I'm going to simplify whatever it is. I'm
Yeah.
going to, instead of doing my 45-minute morning routine because so-and-so influencer told me I have to do it, I'm going to simplify that and just do what Kelly did and journal my thoughts in the morning, or I'm going to do my 5 minutes of breathing. So everything is about
Yeah.
looking what you are currently doing. Look at your calendar. Like, do you have a minute to breathe? Do you have a minute to eat? If the answer is no, then we need to look at how we can simplify that further in the areas of life that you can.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be areas in life, no matter what season in life you're in, whether you're a student, whether you're a mom, whether you're whatever it is, there's going to be
Yeah.
seasons where you can't get rid of some things, and that's okay. So you have to look outside of that and say, what can I trash? What can I trim? What can I transfer? Like, what can
Yeah.
I just
I love that.
like, right?
Yeah, that's
I didn't
good.
I didn't make
That's
that
really
up.
good.
I didn't make that up. So a woman, I forget her name, she wrote a book called Clockwork, and that's where that's from.
That's really good.
But yeah, you have to get really clear. And like you said, the
Yeah.
communication piece is so important. Go to your
Yeah.
friends and say, I am in a season of life where I'm not going to respond to your text messages, but I
Yeah.
still love you. I'm sending you love every day.
Yeah. And if people don't understand it, that's, everyone else is their own business. You only
Exactly.
can do what you can do.
Exactly.
And being proactive about it is, at least you've told yourself, I've done what I can do.
Totally. And so one was professional support. Two was, oh my God, what was two? Professional support, journaling, getting to know yourself, self-awareness, which is also in tandem working with that professional support in some capacity.
Yeah.
And three is simplify. And so really what it comes down to with this simplifying is, how much energy am I putting towards something, and how much value do I get out of that experience, that activity, that friendship? And then how much energy does that continue? Almost like compounding interest with a stock account. Like, is this experience, activity, networking event, friendship, night out on the town, is that adding residual impact in my life that's positive or negative? So for
Yeah.
example, we talked a little bit backstage about my sobriety. So I've just kickstarted sobriety again. I've been on and off with drinking for about 6 years. And recently, in the past few months, I've decided to get back on it. Like, this is it. And it feels really permanent in my life and it feels really good. But for me, the decision really came from not some rock bottom, not some terrible thing that I've done, but I just looked at my life. I said, I am exhausted. I have so much on my plate. I love my business. I love my clients. I love the impact that I am having. I love my kids. I want to be present for them like 1,000%. I want to slow down. And so all these different areas of my life, I had to decide, yes, drinking that glass of wine gave me immediate relief from all the stress that I'm feeling in my life. And maybe that was a positive experience in the moment, but then I'm dealing with a negative residual outcome for 3 days, 4 days as I get older. It's like 3 weeks, 3 weeks to come. But for you, maybe somebody in law school that's hearing this, it's not necessarily the alcohol. Maybe there's a specific friendship where in the moment you're having fun and it's like, oh, this is fun and whatever, but it is not really sparking that total support that you need, or maybe
Yeah.
you can't go deeper with that one person. So it's fun on surface level, but you can't go to that deeper place, or you haven't been able to really voice how you've just been maybe struggling or feeling stressed.
Yeah.
It's not
Or you
that kind
feel
of friendship.
drained after you
Or
hang
maybe it's a
out.
friendship where all you do is gossip and it feels good in the moment. You get that dopamine hit from that connection, but then you feel like crap for 3 days after. And so you just
Yeah.
have to think about, like, what are things in your life that are not giving you positive residual compounding interest of
Yeah.
like positive energy. And maybe
Yeah.
that's something that you can simplify. I don't know if that made sense the way that I explained that.
No, I mean, it made a lot of sense to me,
Yeah.
and I think just that point alone is so helpful, because I don't think, like, the whole head on a stick thing, like, that was me all of law school
Mhm.
and for the first 5 years of law practice, like I was just up here zooming around
Mhm.
constantly, like never coming down, never checking in with my body, never meditating, never slowing down to breathe or like think about, am I happy with what I'm doing? Like I
Yeah.
just, again, going back to that choice, I didn't know I had the choice. And so just that one, if, if no one, if someone takes nothing else but just learning how to listen to your body and
Mhm.
going from there, it's not like a glass of wine is bad or a friend is
Exactly.
bad, but in that moment in this phase of your life or whatever it may be, tuning into how you feel
Yeah.
and then pivoting to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing
Yeah.
feels good and is supporting you in this phase of your life, whether it's law school, being a new lawyer, motherhood,
Mhm.
business ownership, whatever it is,
Yeah.
just tuning in.
And I think at the end of the day, whatever practice you do, whatever choice you make, like in this phase of your life when time is precious, energy is precious, money is definitely precious, like it's a rough
Yes.
go all around. For me, the mantra protect my peace, like every
Mm,
anytime that I had to make a choice, do I say yes to this event? Do I say no? Do I go to XYZ meeting that I know is going to end up going for 5 hours and there's going to be drinking and all the things? I just have to go back to what how can I protect my peace? And maybe that means going to the event, but then leaving an hour in
yeah.
when no one will care if I've left.
Yeah.
Maybe that
Yeah.
means, you know, saying no. So, for example, we're leaving to go away for 5 weeks on December 24th on Christmas Eve. Christmas is a busy time. There's events every day, every weekend. And I told myself after December 15th, which is today as we are recording this, after December 15th, there are no more events. There are no
Yeah.
more parties. There are no nothing. I don't care if it's my best friend in the whole wide world. I'm not
Yeah.
going to anything after December 15th because I am protecting my peace.
Yeah.
And so it's things like that. And
And you're allowed to do that,
and I'm allowed to
And
do
like for
that.
like probably like 5 years ago, I'm like, "Wait, I can't do that. That's not possible." But like, why not?
But also 5 years ago, I wouldn't have known what was going to knock me off my center because I
Yeah.
didn't take the time to get to know my body. And so what you
Yeah.
said, I wish I would have known how to listen to my body. Somebody listening to this might be like, I have no freaking clue what that means. What does it mean, listen to my body? Like,
Yeah.
and then even if I did listen to my body, like, I'm not used to setting those boundaries for myself. That feels like a
Mhm.
very new path to take because our brain is not used to that. We have to
Yeah.
rewire our brain to take a different route. That
Yeah.
takes time. We have to continually regroove a new path in our brain to then eventually that new choice makes sense for us and it's an easy yes.
Yeah. And the law
But
student might even say, "What the hell does that mean?" But let me tell you, as a practicing attorney, I started doing that 2018, 2017, as I was going into big law. It works. Like the rewiring the brain actually does work as you start to notice bad habits and bad patterns and
mhm.
stories, saying, "Hey, wait a minute, is that absolute truth? Like, is
Yeah,
that how I want to feel? Is that what I want to think?" And
exactly.
it's like a muscle that you build over time. And we're all still building. It's a part of the human experience,
Exactly.
but it's possible and
Mhm.
it works. And it's like you said, the stock account, like the more you do it, there's the compounding interest
Totally.
and you start to notice more about yourself and
So I
it
think about it
works.
like this. Like as a law student, you like I said, precious time, precious energy and you're potentially feeling stressed especially around the exams or just the general like avalanche of stress of am I good enough for this? Is this even worth it? So and so is doing better than me. Comparing the whole thing like
Yeah.
it's a lot of weights that you're carrying
Yeah.
around.
And a
So if
lot
you're
of external
feeling
markers of success.
exactly. And so if let's say you're someone listening and you just heard being a head on a stick and you're like, "Oh my god, that's what I feel like." Thinking about it like let's say you have a choice. You have an hour to do a workout. You can either go to that hit class and get your heart rate really jacked up and you get those endorphins and you're feeling really really good, but then an hour later you're still kind of shaky because you've really just like jacked up your energy and maybe what you really needed was a really slow, still strong, but slow yoga class where you're able to bring your breathing down.
Mhm.
In the moment of the hit class, it feels really, really good because you're jacked up and you're energized and you're feeling like you're working your muscles. But the residual effect of that hit class in that moment for you, perhaps, might be that you're feeling a little shaky, or it's taking you a while to come down, or now you're feeling maybe more anxious.
Yeah. Maybe your
Whereas
nervous system was already going haywire.
exactly. Whereas if you took the yoga class route, maybe you didn't get that immediate dopamine hit because you didn't just, lift 50 pounds over your head or whatever it is that CrossFit people do.
That's like the one workout I haven't
Now
tried.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate from CrossFit people now.
All right, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, right. But that residual long-term effect of taking that yoga class would have had more positive benefits. The reverse is also true. If you're feeling maybe really lethargic or really depressed, like maybe that HIIT class would actually have more positive residual effects because you needed to like amp yourself up and feel that fire again. So it goes back to tuning into how your body feels and what you need in each moment, what you need in 9 a.m. is going to be different to what you need at 9 p.m. And being really aware of that. And what we said is some people might be like, what the heck does that mean? What does listening to my body mean? I don't know what this means. And the first step in that is truly slowing down and quieting down enough to listen to the messages that your body are sending you. We are rushing around, and that is how we get to burnout. Is we've rushed around for too long and we've ignored the messages, the little feathers started out as feathers trying to get our attention. Then it started out as pebbles, and now it's a boulder, and you can't get out of bed for a week because you just hit that total fatigue point.
Yeah.
So how we slow down is how we move through our day, right? Maybe that starts with practicing with a yoga practice that's really slow and really steady, and that might feel super uncomfortable for us if we're used to traveling 1,000,000 miles a minute. We get a lot of lawyers that come on our retreats, and they're like, this is too slow, or they'll just get up after Shavasana. Like I'll be like, and now it's time to rest in Shavasana, where we lie down at the end of practice, and they just start rolling up their mats. Like I gotta go, I'm good. Right? I'm like, no, this is the juiciness. This is the part, right? So taking two or 3 minutes every day, whether that's in the morning, at night, your lunch break, starting to, like we said, rewire your brain to move and breathe and think in a different way. And that takes time to build that up. So if you're sitting in a yoga class where it's moving slower than you're used to moving, if you're doing a breathwork practice or sitting in stillness, which you're not used to doing, you might in the middle of that be uncomfortable. That might not feel good as you're doing it because you're not used to sitting in the stillness. So the practice is—
You might have to be one with your thoughts, which can be scary.
That's scary. And the one with your thoughts is how you get used to that voice coming through to you, right? So a lot of times we get people starting out with our meditations and they're like, well, I just can't meditate because my brain doesn't stop. And I was like, all of our brains don't stop. You have to practice. Right? In yoga, there's these 3 steps: dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Dharana is concentrated effort. Like we have to effort very hard to stay concentrated on one point because our brain wants to take us 1,000,000 other places. That's the first step of meditation, is we are concentrating with effort. This is hard. So when people come to me and say, I can't sit in stillness, that's the first step. You've recognized you can't sit in stillness. Check mark, you win, A+. Us law students, we love the A+, right? So the next step is then effortless concentration. You're able to stay, you're still concentrating, but it's not taking so much mental energy to stay there. And then the next stage in yoga, which is really the destination, the end point, is the samadhi. You're able to sit in the stillness, in the spaciousness without getting drawn by any thoughts at all. And that seems really unattainable to some of us until we just start practicing little by little. So what I would recommend to any of your students, your clients, anyone who's listening right now, start small. Start with 1 minute a day. I am going to breathe, inhale and exhale. Perhaps just that, inhale and exhale for 1 minute. And then maybe you bump it up to, I'm going to inhale for 4 and exhale for 4 for 1 minute. That's it. And then eventually you're like, damn, this feels good. I want this to be 3 minutes. I want this to be 5 minutes. But start so small just by slowing your breath down. You're going to see a lot of modern day breathwork workshops, classes, studios, which do a lot of the really cathartic releasing, the big inhales and the long, just like really, gritty breath work, which is great and has a purpose. But for us just starting in a yogic framework, less is best. Slow, steady, rhythmic breaths is how we get to down-regulate our nervous system, slow everything down so we can sit in the spaciousness And that's when we see what bubbles up for us. That's
Yeah.
when we notice, okay, maybe my intuition's telling me that I'm doing too much. Well, what do you mean I'm doing too much? It's okay. Everything's fine. I can't change anything. This is the way it is. And you just sit with that. Okay, maybe that's the way it is. After a couple weeks of doing slow rhythmic breaths, slowing everything down, you're doing too much. Okay, yeah, maybe I am doing too much. Maybe I'll just say no to these next two parties. That's your first step.
Mm-hmm.
But it starts off by slowing everything down so that you can sit in the stillness, you can sit in the silence, and you can sit in the spaciousness so that there's this container of safety for your true voice, for your body, for whatever needs to come up. So you can start listening to that.
That's so good. So good. And I mean, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we all have
Yeah.
that
But even
time.
I struggle. I've been
Yeah.
doing this for whatever, so many, how many, I don't even know how many, 17 years, 18 years.
Yeah.
And I still struggle to find the time.
Yeah. I do too. I'll go through a week or 2 or 3 where I don't really meditate and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing the breath work. And then
And
I'll
you can
do it.
tell.
And I can tell. And then
And your
I'll do
husband can
it.
tell.
He could definitely tell. He could definitely tell. Yes. Especially this week.
Right? So my husband's always like, "Did you meditate today?" And I'm like, "No."
What are you trying to
No.
say? But then I do it one day,
Mhm.
only one day, even if it's 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. And I already see
You're
like
hooked, yeah.
a huge, huge improvement.
And that's because you've rewired your brain to know, like your brain craves it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the groove in your brain that doesn't do the breath work and goes down those habitual patterns of thought, of speaking, of actions, that is still a stronger groove because you've been operating that way for 30 plus years.
Mm,
But this new groove is strong enough because you've been practicing consistently for 5
yeah.
years. It's strong enough to have it still feel good, that when you go back to it, you go back to your wellness point, you go back to your baseline, you realize, oh yes, this is the path I want to take.
Yeah.
You can respond to life rather than reacting to it. And that's going to be where
So
the choice
powerful.
comes in. That's where your choice comes in. You've slowed yourself down through your breath, like physiologically with the breath. When we slow down, we're slowing down our heart rate, we're slowing down our breath rate, and we're slowing down our blood pressure. We're decreasing our blood pressure.
Yeah.
So we come back to our wellness point, we come back to our neutral so you can see from a clear perspective, and then you can make a different choice.
Yeah.
That's how the rewiring works.
Yeah.
But for those of us, that seems like a really lofty goal. And it does take time. I'm not here to tell you there's a magic pill. There's not some, even on retreats, like, yeah, retreats are great. You get a container of a week of space to come back to your true point, but then you got to go back home at some point.
Yeah.
So how do we make our life a place we don't have to escape, right? And so with slowing down, and like I said, start with 1 minute. Start with a simple inhale for 3 or 4, a simple exhale for 3 or 4. I promise you there are thousands of other techniques that you can do to amp up your energy or pacify your energy. But if you are just starting out, set your alarm, set your timer, 2 or 3 minutes in a very, what we call samavritti in yoga, equal breath, balanced breath, to bring yourself back to your base point. Inhaling for a certain count, exhaling for a certain count, and then just sit in the stillness for a couple moments. After you finish those 2 or 3 minutes, just notice the spaciousness in you, and then you can build your practice from there.
And I think if you can do that in the morning and start your day off from that type of energy, the non-reactive, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, you could even do this. I'm thinking sitting in class,
100%.
The Socratic method, when professors are calling on you and putting you on the spot and getting your heart rate elevated. You can do it before, after, during class.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it during the bar exam. You can do it during exams, throughout your law school
100%.
years. I mean, I think especially people who maybe aren't the strongest test takers or who do get very anxious, just that alone is so beneficial.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people, when I tell them I do mindset work with law students, especially when I tell law students, like, well, I just want to get good grades and I want to get a good job. And I say, yes. And this work will help you do that by making sure that you're at like a good baseline when you're taking an exam, will help you to do better on that exam.
Totally.
If you're getting called on in class and you've kind of brought yourself to a point where you can breathe a little bit more, your confidence is going to go up. You're going to be able to answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your brain will function more. When I started doing mindset work, the attorneys that I worked with were like, wow, what are you doing differently?
What are you
Like you're,
taking?
yeah, what are you taking? I need some of that. Like,
It's called breathing.
they're like, oh, okay, I should
Yeah.
try, I should try that.
Like, doesn't sound fancy enough. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to
And
work
that's
for
the
me.
biggest thing, right? Is what you just said. You know, I want to get the best grades and I want to get the best job. First question, why? Why do we want this?
Yeah.
And then second question is you can have these things and you can love yourself along the way.
Yeah.
You can have all these things and you can hate your life, and you can have all these things and you can love your life.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the quality of the experiences, the quality of your life, rather than just ticking off a box. None of those things are wrong. None of those things
Right.
are bad. Those things are
Yeah.
great aspirations to have. And at the same time, we can build in a really full, rich, vibrant life
Yeah.
so that this is sustainable. So you don't get to 10 years down the track and then just burn everything to ground and say, I can't do it anymore. Or
Yeah.
you reach a point of burnout and you quit law school, or you quit your job, or you break up with that partner because that's what you think is wrong. Like it's building a sustainable energy within you so that you can notice when you're starting to reach a little bit of those burnout moments, and you can find a different path, or you can use those moments for change in your life for good instead of going down a really destructive path.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen it. I was in one of the biggest law firms in the country. I was about to make partner, and I was looking at all the partners that I was working with, and they were very intelligent and very successful and making great money, but I don't think they took a step back to say, why am I doing this? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I've checked off the boxes. Yes, I've reached like the pinnacle of the practice of law, but are you happy?
Yeah.
Are you enjoying yourself? Are you getting fulfillment from this?
Yeah.
So I think it's so important what you're saying. Like, yes, law students, yes, having goals is awesome. It's fun. Goals are motivating. They're a huge part of life. They're great. But knowing where you're going and why you're going there, so you don't wind up there and just think, wow, I did all this work and I've sacrificed all these things, maybe time with friends and family or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be, to get to this point,
Yeah.
and so it's not that getting to that point is bad. Being successful is amazing, but doing it intentionally is it's everything. It's everything.
It's the freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And it's freedom of choice with your life. But then on a day-to-day scale, what we spoke about, when you're able to go back to that neutral point because you've brought your nervous system down, you're
Yeah.
come from out of the thoughts of your head down into the sensations of your body, you're able to respond to the daily things of life from
Yeah.
moment to moment, from do you want to go get a coffee? Do you want to go like all the smallest of things?
Yeah.
You can respond rather than just reacting. And that just
Mhm.
changes the trajectory of your life.
Yeah. And you can kind of listen, going back to listening to your body. Like, someone asks you to go to coffee. How do you feel? Do you feel like, yes, yeah, I want to do that? Or do you feel like, I don't really want to do that, but
Yeah.
I feel like I should? And making your decisions in life from that. So it all compounds. It really, really does. And I remember when I was on your podcast, I think one of your questions was, what are your values or your biggest value? And I said freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom has been a big word for me this year, starting my own firm. It's everything. The ability to pivot and make new decisions and do something that maybe people think is crazy, and it's everything. It really
100%.
is.
Yeah.
Oh, this was so good. I know we have a fun event coming up. We'll get details out to everyone as we get more, but definitely keep an eye out for a really great event that Kelly and I are putting together. Well, Kelly's putting together, and she kindly invited me to tag along with the event. So I don't know if we want to share a little bit about it. It's very much in the infant stages, but
Yeah, for sure. So we are planning co-creating. You are 100%. We're 50-50 here. So we are co-creating an event. So my expertise is in retreats and creating experiences for people to come back home to themselves and their body and their mind and their soul. Lauren's expertise is coaching and mindset and really coming at it from a lawyer's perspective. You've been through this. Now you own your own firm. So we are going to create a wellness experience, a retreat for women in law. And that is women who are currently practicing law, women who are law students. It's really open to that, the whole industry in that respect. And we're going to create an event that ties in ways where you're able to go through everything we just talked about. A lot of self-introspection, a lot of chances for you to get to know yourself better, get to know your body more through movement, meditation. You're going to walk away with techniques that you can bring home with yourself and build into a daily wellness plan or a weekly wellness plan.
Yeah.
But also, really the most important part is connecting with other women in the industry, not just to propel your professional growth, which is a byproduct, but just to be able to know you are not alone in
Yeah.
this, that all of us are feeling relatively the same things, and knowing that you have a group of women behind you cheering you on. That's what happens. And that's like the crux of all the retreats we do is, of course, the experiences, the excursions, the places we go are beautiful, the techniques and the practices are life-changing, but it's that community piece that is really going to help you. Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
what did she find?
A
Anything
woman
fun?
named Stephanie on LinkedIn.
Oh, hey, Stephanie.
Here we go. 10 things they don't teach you about being a female in the legal law profession. Don't steal our topics.
That is amazing.
But anyways, that's what this event is going to be for, is creating a very safe space to learn how to take care of yourself on the most like fundamental levels that we forget about, especially as women, and coming at it from the lens of, we are speaking to you. We know your pain points as a lawyer, as a law student. That's really where Lauren is going to shine, and talking about mindset and talking about her journey. And then from our side at Rising Nature Retreats, taking you through a really curated experience that's going to be able to up-level you to the next step in your own personal life and in your professional life.
I'm so excited.
So stay tuned, 2024.
Yeah, stay tuned. Oh my gosh, this was so good. Like, I feel really peaceful right now after this episode. It's really amazing, Kelly. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so they can come to our website, risingnatureretreats.com. We are on Instagram at Rising Nature Retreats. If you want to connect with me personally, my name is at kelly.tolliday.yoga. I'm on there all the time, more than I should. That's my next thing that I'm working on getting rid of. But slide into the DMs, we can chat. And yeah, also if you are interested in travel and just the transformations and all the things that can happen on travel, come over to our podcast, Transform with Travel. We have some amazing guests. Lauren was episode 3. Good. It was incredible. So yeah, those are all the places.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks
this
for having
was
me.
A blast.
Thanks.
And we'll catch you on the next episode, everybody. Bye.
Bye.